Star Wars month is now over for Veve, and we saw some incredible stuff on the platform, including lightsabers that were animated, as well as Darth Vader himself with an animation, which has somehow managed to pull the ultra rare. But today, we're going to be talking about the power of Veve and what they have in the future in regards to their marketing, how this is actually going to help them grow their user base, and why this is one of the best things that they can utilize moving forward. So let's get started. Welcome everyone, my name is Andy, and I appreciate you taking some time out your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get started, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. If you have been living under a rock or you've just not been on Veve in a while, Veve released Star Wars month sort of last month in the build up to Kenobi, which was now released on Disney+. Now we got one of the Star Wars comic books, we got posters from some of the original movies, as well as lightsabers which were animated, as well as Darth Vader to finalize and finish off the month. Now, this was one of the most fun and exciting months on Veve in a while. And this is because a lot of things have just been in the process. Nothing has really been released. And we've talked about that a few times, how it became sort of stagnant with what Veve were doing. You know, MCP wasn't released. We hadn't heard really many updates on MTL. KYC was still to come into play. The OUP is still to come into play. There's still a lot of things that are in the works that are going to take quite a while to make. So retaining users and actually allowing them to enjoy an app that you can't really do much on at the moment is pretty challenging. Now, it's not to say there aren't things that could be done right now. Star Wars is definitely one of the ways that you could improve that quite significantly and quite quickly. In fact, we actually saw this be the case where 7,400 new wallets with 2 or more collectibles were added on May in Veve. And there's also one new person who gained the 5,000 plus collectible mark, introducing themselves as a whale in the community. We don't actually know who it is, but this is from one of the tweets. So 7,400 new wallets with more than 2 collectibles is always a great sign, because I'm guessing there was a lot more new users who came on who either got one, sold it off, or got one and that's it, because this is for 2 or more collectibles. This isn't for just one. So there probably are some people who have just got one, maybe looking at between maybe 10 and 20,000 new users solely from Star Wars month and the drops that did happen. Star Wars themselves actually retweeted as well the lightsabers that were dropping in the 30 minutes to go, and it's interesting to see some of them use a little bit of their marketing anyway to actually provide what there is there, and seeing their actual Twitter acknowledge that these drops were happening. This is one of the things I really wanted to touch on when it came to the IP that we have. We already know that Veve is one of the only companies in the world that has this level and power of IP behind them at the moment. We've got the total Disney umbrella with so many companies involved, such as Marvel and Star Wars, as well as things like DC, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, and honestly, I can go on for ages talking about all the things that Veve actually have in their hands to produce and share what is actually being released. Now, one of the most interesting things that they can do with all of this is the power behind the marketing to bring in new users. As of right now, we obviously know that Veve really doesn't have anything that's keeping users on the platform. Yes, you can put it in your vault, but again, on the mobile, it still doesn't work that well, and the web app's not out yet. So people can't actually use that, and for me, I'm going to be using it once I get onto the web app. And this will probably be the same for a lot of other people. But there's more to it than that, because if we really think about how movies sort of market their product to new user bases and potential new target audiences, then Veve is one of the best ways to actually do it. If you take something like McDonald's, where they're promoting some things from movies with their toys, kids love that sort of stuff, and that's how they sort of get involved. Now, I understand that kids maybe aren't the sole target when it comes to something like Veve. There are ways to easily target the consumer base of collectibles and collectors themselves to promote movies that we have been seeing. We can see that Jurassic Park already, if you buy one of the tickets for the AMC theaters and go and see it, you're going to be getting an NFT within Veve related to Jurassic Park. Now, unfortunately, this is only in America at the moment, but hopefully that does expand worldwide over time. And if we see this happening more and more with these companies, and more becoming comfortable with actually sharing and exposing themselves as someone who is thinking a little bit further ahead than other companies, and are maybe not scared of all of the people who believe Veve are like environmentally deadly when it comes to the collectibles that they're releasing, then it might actually be a good thing to start promoting it to new target audiences in the doors to Veve, to an average retailer or an average consumer outside of the NFT space. The biggest problem we obviously have right now is that there are just so many people who despise NFTs. And I totally understand where they're coming from for certain instances. Most of the NFT market is a complete and total scam. I'm not afraid to admit that, even though I create videos on it. But there are some areas that I truly believe are going to be revolutionary in what we're moving forward with, especially the educational field and even things like collections, where you don't actually have to keep everything in your room, but can have it in a space where you can look at it, enjoy it, have fun trading it, and just allow yourself to not have all of the clutter in your room. Again, most of this space has to crash and burn before we really build out those true builders and true understandings of what this space is going to be. But if companies begin to market the products more and are actually more comfortable with collaborating with those who work within their industries, then we really could see a massive ramp up of users coming into this platform and exposing more to what Veve has to offer. There are things I'd like to see first though before that is the case, because I always believe that foundational processes are extremely important in any business. If you have something that works really well, but you're not really prepared for the influx that's going to be happening, you most likely will crash and burn. And we have sort of saw this with Veve when it came to things like the Disney coming for the first time. I know that was an external problem with Homer and Bart where the servers crashed, but that still was quite a significant problem when they were ramping up a new user base and probably turned off a lot of people who were already pretty skeptical in the first place. What I'm interested on though is how Veve are actually going to utilize this in the best way moving forward, and what they're genuinely going to do to bring in people who are loyal to what Veve are, and those people who have obviously stuck around since the beginning of the Veve app back in late 2020. I wanted to touch on that a little bit more because I think the power of what Veve actually has at their fingertips is something that no other company really has. A lot of them have to do maybe a little bit of a shady business here and there to get their followers up, to get people in their Discord, to get people even talking about them, and Veve have not really yet had to do that. I do understand the things when people are talking about the 2.6 million users, but it's just not the case. But I'm guessing this is based on data alone and not something they were actively trying to lie about just in that basis. I will give them the benefit of the doubt on that. I'm sure there are people who will probably fight me on that anyway, but we'll move forward. I'm interested to see how they are going to capture people to truly believe in the product that they are building over the long run. Again, we're thinking about this in decades, 2 decades, 3 decades time, when they are a household name. Companies build themselves up to become number one and quickly crash and burn if they're not able to keep up with the demand and the way that this world is actually moving. We've seen things like Blockbuster completely crash and burn after being the number one video store in the world for a very long time, because something became easier and more accessible to the average user base who wanted to consume movies, TV shows, and all that sort of stuff. Over the next few years are going to be quite a critical time for Veve to understand exactly how to do that and how to build the loyalty they are looking for. There's a reason why people go back to Amazon time and time again. There's a reason why people buy and sell on eBay over and over again too. It's ease of use for the customer, it makes it simple for them to understand, and they also enjoy the process of what they're doing when they are moving forward with it. Veve can replicate that and make something for the user base that they really enjoy to come back time and time again, something like FIFA Ultimate Team, even though EA are not a company I actually like, and this could be wildly successful when using the marketing power of all of these biggest companies in the world whilst they are promoting together to build each other up. I kind of went on a rant there about the marketing power and what Veve actually have to have, but I did find it interesting that Star Wars were involved with this drop and they were actively tweeting about it and what Veve were actually doing, so that is a cool sign. It's nice to see. And also the Darth Vader drop was just absolutely nuts. I mean, all of you will know yourself, we have been wanting Darth Vader for so long, and the fact he dropped animated is just kind of blows my mind, but we move. Next, one of the things I do want to talk about is the really interesting aspect of Ascentex offering 10% returns for OMI tokens themselves. Now again, if you're someone who's not involved in the OMI token, you might not know about this, and if you're someone who's just not really been keeping up with OMI themselves, then again, this might not be something that you have kept up with. But Ascentex, the company where you can buy and sell, trade, and all that sort of crypto stuff, you can actually stake your OMI outside of the US, unfortunately, as US people can't do it at the moment, but for a 10% return on your OMI tokens themselves. This is a great way of locking locking up tokens and actually incentivizing people to keep their tokens locked up, allow the circulation to be a little bit more healthy than it maybe was, and probably gives incentives of big whales to actually stake it so they can earn more money. I do understand that maybe those big massive whales don't really care about the 10% return, but it is something else to add to it. I know that incentive return is something people often look for when it comes to tokenomics in the cryptocurrency field. It isn't something that Veve can offer directly because it would be classed as security, but it is something that another external company can offer from that. It will be interesting to see what will happen over the next few years when it comes to that sort of 10% return, if America will ever be able to be added for this, but it is something I wanted to mention anyway. Sort of in relation to burns as well as just overall market health when it comes to Veve is the burns that happened during Star Wars month, because this was really interesting. Now, Puddin Cheeks is someone who's incredible in the community. They put out a spreadsheet every day of like gems purchased, OMI burned, secondary fees on the market every day and all of that sort of stuff. We saw that Kay had put out a tweet where the past week contributed to 10% of all OMI burned across the past year and a half. So over the last week, the amount of OMI burned was, I think, around about 5.5 billion, if I'm not mistaken. And that is just insane to even think about that is the case. And with that, we can again see the power of what these burns can do if the buybacks obviously become a thing again, if this burning mechanism actually works in the favor. I know Foster's done a video recently on this sort of stuff, so I highly recommend giving that a watch because he's way smarter than me when it comes to that sort of thing. And Puddin Cheeks obviously was talking about the secondary market as a whole over the last sort of week itself, and it was shown that based on 119,000 USD secondary fees, the trading volume was somewhere between 1.4 million with an 8.5% and 4.7 million with 2.5%, depending on obviously what was listed on the market. That was actually up double from May the 25th before the Star Wars drop had happened. You can see on the screen right now the gems that were purchased over the last few days. You know, we obviously saw $1.8 million worth purchased on the 29th. I believe that was when Darth Vader was dropping, and again on the 26th was 1.6 million, and if I'm not mistaken, that was when the lightsabers were dropping. Now, I might be wrong on that front, but still seeing the 1.6, 600k, 950k to 1.8 million on those drop days is kind of mental in a market that seems to be so down at the moment. There is showing that there is still livelihood in this market. People are still looking to buy and get involved in this app, even if there's some things that are not quite yet released, and even a cash out available in the sort of regular means of what we should be able to do over the next few months. Veve have of course promised that MTL, MCP, all that sort of stuff are going to be coming over the next sort of the months and the quarters. All we can do right now is kind of hold them accountable to what they've said they're going to do. I don't know if there's going to be more delays on everything that's going to be happening. They have promised a fair few things toward the end of Q2, and hopefully we will actually see those in place. A little bit more trust to the founders with what they actually say they're going to do and with what they actually say they're going to move forward with. They have said there's going to be a community sort of video that will be coming out, but I know the founders, I think they were taking some time off for family. They will get that video up soon, and I'm sure I'll do a video on it describing a little bit more. But I wanted to catch you up on all of the things that were happening in Veve at the moment. Some of my thoughts on the marketing strategies that could be happening over the next few years if they play their cards right, and how I believe this market is moving right now through the data that we have been seeing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're thinking on Veve right now. Are you excited with what's going on? Are you a little bit unhappy with some of the things that are moving? Feel free to let me know down below. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.